I know it's a long day, right? It's Thursday. Wait, okay, wait, Pete. Oh, how do you do? How does nobody knows the Heisman? How do you do the Heisman? Do you know the trophy on top of the what's it? It's the college football. College football. There's a Heisman. There's a trophy given to the best college football player, and I don't know how he does it. Anyway. All right. Karen Ball. He does some weird move, right? Okay, so yeah, it's okay. Then it's silly. So let's do this. So actually, let's do a game of statue. Everybody's got to be a stat, but we need somebody to tell us the subject here. We got to do some kind of statue. Nate. What does Nate do? Oh, like Simon says? Oh, swimming. No, it's like Frozen. Okay, yeah. Yeah, like a Frozen statue. Show us what a swimmer looks like in a statue. Come on. Come on. Don't be shy. Come on. I know we look silly. Let's do it. Come on, guys. Hey, we can be children for a little bit, right? Okay. All right. So, have a seat. Why is he having us do this? You are silly. Okay, what I want you to do is I want you to take 2 minutes by yourself. Read Matthew chapter 6. Matthew 6. Verses 1 through 18. And I want you to look for, wait, before you start reading, I want you to look for the following things. Ready? Look for, there are 3 things we ought not to do, and then he gives replacements. So don't do these things, but instead do these things. Okay? 1 through 18, 3 things we ought not to do, then replacements, and then your 3 minutes. Go ahead. As you're finishing that, the next step I want you to do is I want you to think of statues. Pretend we're going to take a picture of you. Statue of each one of the things you ought not to do. What would it look like if you were to take a picture, a snapshot of a person doing the thing that we should not be doing? And you're going to make a statue. You're going to think about it, talk to your neighbor about what you're going to do, and in a couple minutes I'm going to say 3, 2, 1, and you're going to show me a statue for each one of the things, okay? So let's just make sure we all are on the right thing. When you give, so it was like giving, right? When you give, don't let your left hand and your right hand know it, right? That's one of them. Is that what we got? What was the second one? When you pray, don't pray so everybody can hear you. And then what was the last one? When you fast, don't fast like... don't disfigure your face. Okay, all right, so those 3 things, pretend you got to come up with a statue for each one of the 3 things. You got 5 minutes to do that, and then we're going to talk in a second. Go ahead. I'm going to count down from 3, 2, 1, and so everybody needs to stand up for this. Stand up. I'm going to count 3, 2, 1, and I'm going to take a photo, and once we hit that, I want to see your statues, okay? Ready? Are we ready? So the first one is, when you give, do not do it like the hypocrites who, how does it go? They have trumpets. Oh, they sound the trumpet. Okay, ready? 3, 2, and 1. Okay. Oh, money. We got a dollar bill out. Whoa. Hey, oh, more money. Okay, all right. All right, then the second one is when you pray, don't pray like the hypocrites who want to be listened to. They do it for everybody to see. 3, 2, and 1. Yes. Give her a hand. Give her a hand. Be careful getting down. All right. And the final one is when you fast, don't disfigure your faces like the hypocrites do. So everybody knows that you're fasting. 3, 2, and 1. Okay. Beautiful. Give yourselves a hand. Oh, yeah. All right. Have a seat. Have a seat. Okay. Now, if I was teaching a class, this would be the time, Pastor Devendra, that I would give a 7-minute message. Okay? So let me turn on the screen, and I'm going to illustrate what I mean. What would the message be for you? I think there's a verse afterwards that says that God who sees in secret, he rewards openly. Right? Isn't that beautiful? Okay, let's think about what just happened for a couple minutes, okay? So first, let's pretend I preached for 7 minutes. How much did I speak? 7 minutes, maybe a little bit more with instructions. Okay, what were the students doing first? Reading what? The Bible. Ooh, they were in the Bible. I hate, pardon me for saying it this way, please excuse me if you're offended by this, when someone will address students and they say, "You don't have your Bible? How dare you not bring your Bible?" And then they don't ask them to open their Bibles. They don't ask them to read their Bibles. They don't use the Bible at all as a textbook. I mean, for lack of a better word, but the Bible is incredible. And how can we expect young people to fall in love with the Bible if we don't do it as a practice when we teach? Right? Okay. Did I just have them read the Bible? What did I have them do when they were reading the Bible? Search for what? Specific things. Okay, I gave them something to look for. Because remember the low level to high level thinking? Low level thinking is, part of it is matching. Scanning is low level thinking. And I'm going to build from scanning for information to something like creating. That's synthesis. Creation is a high level thinking. Okay, so scan, look. Then what did I do? While you guys were reading, what did I do? Anybody? All right, I'm going to do it this way. How to create a 30-minute Bible lesson that engages students to be creative, have fun, and work in the Bible, and only speak for 7 minutes. It's possible, okay? Number 1, find the text. That's where we start. And this varies between 5 and 10 minutes depending on what you're having them look for and the age, their capacity. I would say 3 things is enough. Not 5, not 7. 3 things is enough to hold their capacity. 3 things is enough for them not to be confused. Okay? 3 things. They read the source text, and you have to give them a hook. Something that gets them interested. What was the hook that I did today? You might not even catch it till you see the whole thing in big picture. Anybody know what the Heisman is? The Heisman? How do we do the Heisman? You didn't even think, like nobody even thought that could relate to the class, right? Right? The Heisman. Statue. Oh, statue. Hey, read this text. Blindsided. I tricked you. I mean, maybe not. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe that's not the best hook. But hooks are really important. Hooks happen in trailers for movies all the time. That's why people go and watch movies after they watch the trailer, because they're hooked. Okay? And that's just a little bit of creativity that we can say, like I did a class in the high school and said, "Did you know there's a haircut policy in the Bible?" And then we read 1 Corinthians 10. Okay? Did you know that there's a policy about eating steak? You know? Okay, next. I worked the room. You may not have noticed, or maybe you did now that I'm saying it, but I was not standing up here, I was walking around. And I don't know if anybody felt the pressure of my presence. Did anybody feel the pressure of my presence? No? Did anybody feel like if you weren't working and I walked by you, you felt like maybe you should? I mean, there's a management strategy that says that your presence is the best management strategy that you have. There's levels of fooling around or goofing around. The closer you are to students, the less likely they're going to goof around. So it's like green, you know? This is the green zone, then you got yellow zone, red zone is Vuoko back there playing, you know, she's just like causing trouble, you know? Not really, but if I came over here and I'm not addressing her, but I'm just kind of, I'm like sneaky. I'm moving around and I'm talking, and now they're feeling pressure back here to stop talking if they're talking. And I haven't embarrassed them or anything. Well, maybe I have because I'm talking about them now, but if they didn't know better, they're just going to stop and listen. And so there's something to be said for working the room. And that's a little counterintuitive because we're used to standing still in front of one place. But when we're working with students on teaching, this is a good strategy. So I can assess them to see if they're on the right track. I'm looking at what they're writing down, okay? Oh, hey, you're in the wrong chapter, No, we're in Matthew 6. So that student could have completely been lost if I didn't check him. He wouldn't have gotten anything right. Not you, but I'm using that as an example, okay? So that's feedback. That's a best practice, isn't it? Feedback. What could I say as part of feedback? Yep, good job. Oh, yeah, you got it. Yep, there's only 3. Not 7. Okay, good job. See, I'm just building capacity in people. They're getting confident, okay? That's feedback, okay? I know it sounds silly and easy, but let's just humor me. Then, next step is peer review, 3 minutes. Peer review. There's some people who teach and they say, Helena, 6 times 6. Good job. Give her a hand. Yeah. Nathan, I'd like you to talk to your neighbor and I want you to tell me what 6 times 6 is. Go ahead and talk to your neighbor 6 times 6, okay? What did I just do? Took the pressure off of him. And I'm not just checking him, but I'm checking him and his neighbor. Okay? Isn't that interesting? So now I just checked 2 people at once. Because his neighbor has to help him. So peer review is really important because you will find students, any even Bible study, Sunday school, they learn the best, except for these 2. They learn the best from the people that are next to them. Yeah. I'm good. They correct each other, All right? All right, number 4, creation. Give the students something to create together that integrates the points of the reading. High-level thinking and activity. Okay? High-level thinking and activity. What's high-level thinking about it? I have to use my body to illustrate a point of the lesson. Isn't that interesting? And I've done this where I say, I want you to come up with a 5-minute commercial for a product. This is like with middle school. 15-second commercial for a product that you and your neighbor act out. And it was on Romans, walking in the spirit versus walking in the flesh. And one of the kids, it was like they copied like the Snickers commercial, where you're not, he's not himself, give him a Snickers or something like that. Oh, he's not himself, he's walking in the flesh. And they just connected something that they knew prior learning to something high level with a new lesson that really means something to them. And now, the best part is when they see the Snickers commercial, they might think about my Bible class. And I didn't even use the Snickers commercial as my illustration. They came up with the whole thing on their own. Isn't that awesome? It's like amazing. Wow, hey, we just taught each other. Like it has nothing to do with what I know. It has everything to do with what the students know. It has nothing to do with what I do. It has everything to do with what the students do. Okay? Finally, students present. That's a 5-minute part. They show their creation. And then, now, really finally, learning has been activated. Memory has already been ignited. Engagement is at its highest point at that moment when people are laughing because things are silly. People are feeling a little awkward because maybe they're being noticed. There's all kinds of things happening in the brain, and now all of a sudden, hey, I'm going to let it rip. Did you know that we don't do things like the hypocrites, but we do things in secret? And the God He sees every single thing in secret, He rewards you openly. And the other point of the lesson when I taught this was, hey, if you do it for the applause of somebody else, you get your reward. So go ahead, enjoy it, the applause. It's awesome, right? That's not a bad thing in one sense, but oh man, I don't want that. I'd rather be I'd rather get the reward God has. That was the lesson. I said 7 minutes worth of information and a half an hour study, and who knows what kinds of things God showed them. Isn't that cool? Okay. take a minute and just rehearse what we just said to your neighbor, okay? Okay, maybe time to give me some feedback. What do you think about it? Just yell out anything. Actually, no, we're supposed to use the microphone. Anybody?
Yeah, I'll say I think it's good prep for the lesson that you have, because usually you find yourself starting off a class trying to connect with the students anyways. So this is a good way to not only connect with the students but also prepare for the lesson you want to communicate. And like what was communicated this week, people's difficulties in home come into the school, and if it's something that's like first thing in the morning, they need to you know, they need to be worked into the objectives of the day. And like, was it you that said this or somebody, maybe Pastor Lange, like even the public schools recognizing a need for something to help the kids come back into education mode out of the difficult situations that they're going through at home. So, but what I like about this is that it's also preparing them for the lesson you have. So it's interactive and prep.
I think I enjoy specifically the example you made about the Nike ad. I think we remember things better if we have our own personal association. So to be actually, I'm just thinking about it now how much of a great difference it would have made for me personally if maybe you were asked a question in an exam, but then you remember your own personal experience attached to the lesson, so it'll be easier for you to recall it and bring it back to memory. And I think also the peer-to-peer review thing is also very good because kids don't want to look like idiots in front of each other. So by giving them a task and say, okay, this is what's going to happen, then they're more motivated to engage um, with the subject prior to you actually teaching. So it's actually a wonderful way of getting kids to prepare themselves before the lessons, knowing that they might have an opportunity to be talking to their friends, and you don't want to be the one that is looking a bit oblivious or lost all the time. So that's great.
Yeah, just on the point where walking around. I think I had never thought about it that way, and that's great. Though I don't know how you can deal with some kids where maybe your presence may be um, intimidating. I mean, some children are kind of like reserved, but when you walk around, how do you deal with children like that? That's the first thing. The second thing, but the way you brought it is good because, like moving around, usually I think was in the past classes where, like when you walk up, maybe there was a child distracting the class or something, but your presence there makes them aware and brings the attention back again, and so something like that. But then I was also looking at this in like in a Bible college when we are training these young preachers. Like, can they give a message in 7 minutes? And this is a great example. Can they read the text and have these like 3 points and run with it in the shortest time? And so this is great.
Yeah, when we talk about working the room, the strategy I like to say is that you want something that can handle most of the problems most of the time. Something cheap, not something expensive. Expensive means, Andy, you are driving me crazy when you keep looking at the back of the room. Like, you got to stop it. You're distracting every single person here, and if you do it one more time, I'm done. That's expensive because, I'm just kidding. I'm using that as an example. It's expensive because he felt totally, in that moment, right? Totally like a truck hit you. And now I just caused my relationship with him to suffer, didn't I? Yep. Yeah, he's about to come up, you know. So that doesn't work. That's expensive. Now I have to repair the relationship later. He lost maybe something that God could speak to him if that was the moment and if I wasn't using that as an example. But instead, I could just be addressing the room, saying something really good, really healthy, and I could have my hands on a person like this. And now I've just given, maybe he has a learning style where he needs like a touch, he needs a relationship, he needs that kind of thing, and I've just given it to him. And maybe he stops talking, and it's cheap. This is cheap. I didn't destroy a relationship, I gained a relationship here. It's awesome. It's much different. And can it happen with adults? Who teaches adults in the room? Can this type of thing that we do when we walk around, does that work with adults? Oh yeah, it doesn't change just because we're talking about kids versus adults. It has to be the same, I think. I think that most education in modern America especially is finding that a lot of things they do with kids work a lot better with adults. So even college professors are changing their teaching strategies now in college and universities because they're recognizing that it works. Why change it? You know? Was that Pastor Stan? Those are not adults, yeah. Yeah, okay, yeah. 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 Uh-huh.
Now, is there a way of being able to reduce this into a, let's say, if you don't have an opportunity to do activity and stuff, but you have, you need to do a presentation in 5 to 7 minutes. Is there a way that we can be able to do something like this? You know, obviously just using words without necessarily having pictures. Do you maybe have an example of how you could reduce this into a quick, short presentation? As Pastor Sam has mentioned, especially in the context of somebody maybe has an introduction or has to do a 5-minute thing, or you're called to talk, let's say, to share about something that you've done. Otherwise, you just find yourself spending 5, 10, 15 minutes, taking so much time. For, you know, if you have the skill of just being able to reduce, summarize things, and quickly get into the point.
Yeah, so remember the capacity that we're addressing our students with brain breaks usually is the age times 1 or 2 minutes, usually. So 7 minutes is the average. So if you're going to share for a 7-minute introduction, you haven't lost anything. And no equity's been lost, I think. So it's okay to preach, I think, 7-minute introduction. I think preaching is totally different. It's also okay, like I have something here that I want to do with before we end that's mostly me talking, and it maybe will take 20 minutes. And that's okay. I'm not saying that this is wrong, like to preach. It's not wrong. It's awesome. It's the foolishness of the world that brings wisdom. So I'm not talking, they're kind of two separate things. But what I'm saying is, if we are in a place where we are ministering consistently to a certain group of people over and over again, we need to vary our instruction. Like the variation is really good for us. It's really healthy, you know. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought it was. We were saying it was really good.
Sorry, we want to get this on.
The hook, right?
Hook,
the hook,
yeah.
Right, because we are actually looking to persuade, right? People. Teaching is like because we know something. But, it's like you said, at the end, it's not about what we know, it's what they know. But what we're trying to do is we know something. That's why we're teaching, because we really believe that we know something.
Yes.
And we actually are trying to persuade them of the thing that we really believe that we know.
Yes.
Right? And
Yes.
And we're like invested in it to the degree that we really believe in it. And the thing that we know, and that it's important that that they would like be persuaded of this. And so, whatever we can do to make sure that they're actually, that's happening.
Yeah, that they know.
Yeah, that they know it.
Yeah,
there.
if the best way to learn something is to teach, don't be the only teacher in the room. Okay, let me say it again. If the best way to learn something is to teach, don't be the only teacher in the room. Okay? So think about the lesson we just did. They were teaching each other. They were teaching themselves. They were teaching the class. They were teaching themselves when they were reading the text, looking for three things. Okay, what if you say to them, I want you to read these verses, and you don't give them a hook? Then what interest do they have to read it? Because you haven't activated any of the lower level skills. But if you say, hey, there's something in there you got to find. Well, what is it? Well, it's something to do with this. Okay, well, and when you find the verse, underline it, you know? And the hope would be, I mean, this is my hope, is that when they go home, they already have skills now to study the Bible, like read the Bible. I underline that in that class. It's okay to underline? I guess it's okay to underline in my Bible, you know, as they read. That's when they taught themselves. They taught each other when they were correcting one another. I found this, what did you find? They taught the class when they stood on top of the table to show that they were the highest person in the room that's praying in front of everybody. Right? Didn't she teach us all something with that illustration? She sure did. She sure did. She taught us she has got some balance. I was a little nervous. Okay, isn't that awesome? I think it's awesome. Okay, now regarding young people, okay, I believe in America, and it's probably true in a lot of other countries, that the age 18 to 29, that is one of the most important times in a person's life. I think it's crucial. For many people, it's the time when a young person leaves their home for the very first time. Okay? It's the age when a person decides the course of study. It's the age when some people decide who they're going to marry. It's the age when someone decides what kind of job they're going to take, where they might live. And although a lot of those decisions, can be overturned without many major consequences. In other words, if they make a mistake, it's sometimes not too hard to correct that mistake. I think if there's ever a time for a person to have active influence and support, spiritual influence, spiritual support, it's when a person's a young adult. That's what I believe. Unfortunately, in our country especially, within the church as a whole, this is the age that's lacking the most influence spiritually. There was a group called the Barna Research Group, and they interviewed over 20,000 millennials. And they found out the following reasons that they were leaving the church were: the church is overprotective, condemns culture, media, music. Young people's Christian experience is often shallow. Churches seem agnostic towards science. They feel they're judged when they make a mistake, especially when it comes to sexuality. They wrestle with the exclusive nature of Christianity. And then they also feel that churches are unfriendly towards doubt. These are the major reasons why they said that they left the church. 20,000 people. I don't think it's always the case, but one can determine that maybe young people enter possibly the most crucial time in their lives without the active influence and counsel that's found in the church. It can be. Did you know that 20% of freshmen in college enroll as undecided? That's their major. I don't think it's wrong, but it does reflect to me that many young people are hungry for direction. And who are they going to look for to find that direction? They've termed it in many universities as the exploratory year because people are exploring options for their lives, and they're going to allow professors, students, and some type of program where they can intern to help guide them and influence them in their decision making. I don't think that's entirely wrong, but the Bible tells us that we pray when we want to find out what the will of God is. Colossians 1:9. My professors, my friends, my experience, those are all things that can mislead me. aren't they? My professors, my friends, my experience. They don't really provide me with objective reasoning. So, if God designed me with an eternal purpose, a purpose that transcends my talents, my proclivities, my hobbies, the things that make me seem to other people like who I am, does that mean He doesn't use my talents, my proclivities, my hobbies? It doesn't mean that. It means that His purpose transcends my hobbies, my talents, my skills. I believe when His purposes fill my life, I stop looking for purpose and I start living with purpose. And this is something that I have found that the church teaches. Living with purpose. Not looking for it, but living with purpose. The church should be a place where I find safety. What was that, Proverbs 11:24, I think it is, says, in the multitude of counselors there is safety. Yeah. I find in the church a community who have faced my situation before. I find friends and peers that hold my hands high when I walk through dark situations. I'm not made to face things alone. Isn't that what God said to Adam? He said it's not good for him to be alone, right? I need God to help me in my situation, and I need it in the church. If left to myself, I might find myself making poor decisions. Poor decisions lead to regret. Regret causes bitterness. And bitterness makes me seek a solution. And if I go back to my source, and if it's incorrect, then I make another poor decision. And then I have regret. And then bitterness. And then I find another solution. And if my source is wrong, I make another bad decision. And then I have regret. So when we taught our kids this year, in the apologetics class, I taught them a little bit about two types of young people. One is called the prodigal, and one is called the nomad. Anybody want to guess what they are? Tell your neighbor what you think the prodigal young person might look like. A prodigal is someone who leaves and then what? Comes back. What's a nomad? A nomad is somebody who is just wandering. And in our culture, there's something called, I think it's called wanderlust, I think is the term. And you'll see it on Instagram and Facebook, and I'm not a part of a lot of social media at all, but where if you type in wanderlust, it's people traveling to different places and looking at the sky and in this giant cavern, and they're just obsessed with trying to figure out all of this type of stuff. And this is what a nomad can do as a young person. They leave the institution for whatever reason. But they find out, this group, when they talk to nomads, they're the ones who oftentimes go to which church when they're done? Huh? Actually, they go to like Orthodox churches, like Catholic churches, because they're looking for substance, and they feel like they actually, if you look at the charts, the Catholic Church young people population is increasing because they're looking for some substance, something they can hang on to, and maybe they find it in the liturgy. That's the practices that they do over and over and over again. And what's the flip side of that? We got the evangelical churches who are all about music. Okay, it's all about music. And if the music isn't good, then I don't go. And if the pastor wears a tie, I get intimidated. And if he doesn't go by his first name, then, it's like, that's like this hipster thing, It's all about how young everything looks and fresh. But a lot of times it's lacking substance. So it lasts for a short period of time and then it disappears. One of our students graduated from GUCA. For whatever reason, is not so much a part of our church anymore when they come visit, but told us that they found a church that meets in a hotel room, conference room, in a hotel, and it's like a lot of older people, and she's like the only young person there. And I said, why? And she's like, I am so welcomed and loved and cared for, and the preacher is so on fire, and he opens the Bible, and she's all about substance. She wants the substance. And she's bringing her college friends to this little church, you know? Well, why not the other churches? Well, all they do is play music, and it's like it's all the other stuff, the fluff, and she wants the meat. The nomads, I believe, are those who desire Jesus in a real way. A real way. Does that mean we leave style out of it? I don't think so. I think if you go to the church down in Federal Hill, there's a lot of style. There's a lot of young people, but it has a lot of substance too. Okay, so they gave the following advice to the church. These are 5 things that they said that I think are pretty cool. All right, so 5 things they said that we can do to help encourage young people to be in church. Here they are. And that's 18 to 29, okay? Professionals, all those different, whatever you want to call them. When I think about this, I think about our church, like ours. And I hope when you think about this too, you think about yours and your home churches, those 18-year-olds or 17 or 16. I think about those kids, the 9 graduating classes that I've gotten to see at Greater Grace Christian Academy. That's who I think of. Me? Let me have that one. Can I have that one? Okay. All right. Is this on? Okay, number 1. Encourage relationship building. Relationship building is essential. And the techniques that we talked about here, like some of that, helps to build relationships. Because people are talking about the text together. And you know what? They might talk more afterwards. I love, actually, when a new person's in church, I'm sitting next to them. I hate it, and I love it. Pastor Shower says, talk to your neighbor. I hate it. I do. I don't like it. Okay, fine. I'll talk to my neighbor. Hi, hey. But you know what? I'm more likely to talk to that person when church is over because there was an initiation. It's really healthy. Encourage relationship building. The church should be able to interact more with the culture. I'm not really sure what that means, but this is what they said. Allow young people to take leadership. This is number 3. Allow young people to take leadership roles. Okay? I remember reading the government builds an airplane, the U.S. government can build a jet, and it costs $6 million, and they put it in the hands of a 19-year-old. $6 million jet. In the hands of a 19-year-old pilot. And we're afraid to not us, but the church is afraid to let a 19-year-old become an usher. Find a way to help millennials see the biblical application to career in their life. And then last thing is, the most important one they said was help us build intimacy with God. This is Barna. Help us build intimacy with God. That's what they said that they wanted the most. Okay? So, Greater Grace World Outreach Church in Baltimore here has a young person group called Connect, and that was the intention of that. And maybe as part of your studies that you're supposed to do and turn into Philippe, does it go to you, Philippe, when they turn in their final project? Maybe the recommendations and things you could make to the church relate to young people. And that's my plug for young people. Like, really important. I don't know, isn't there part of your assignment where you're making recommendations to the church about how they can improve the educational work in your local assembly? And I'm just giving a plug for this age group. Maybe you would consider doing your project on young people. That's what I'm saying. Because that's really important. Young adults. Maybe not. Yeah. Yeah, because you know what's interesting? They come back when they're 29 plus. You know why? Because they have children. And they want their kids to have the same thing that they had. They start to remember all those good things about the church. So then it cycles back down to Sunday school, doesn't it? Sunday school, youth ministry, they disappear. Okay, so that's the gap, I think.
that's the end of my class. It's been a pleasure and honor to teach you, and have a wonderful rest of the week, and God bless you guys. Thank you.